we'll be looking at the unresolved kidnapping in Ghana. Now, kidnapping over the years have gone on the rise in various parts of the globe, of which Ghana is no exception. I mean, it's happening right here in Ghana. Now, it is becoming a major trend by which people extort huge amounts of money from families of the affected persons in return for the freedom of their hostages. Now, although technology advancement has made it possible to talk and arrest kidnappers for prosecution, Ghana seems to be in the dark and causing culprits to go set free and cases left unresolved. These are very, very serious matters. Why should these cases be left unresolved? What is happening? What is it? Is it that the intelligence bit is not working too much? The units, that things are not holding together. All right, now the question is, how can we help resolve cases of kidnapping to make our streets, our society, our communities, our nations a safe haven for both citizens and foreigners as well? Because it happens to foreigners a lot. When you go to other African countries, you have foreigners being kidnapped, those tourists and things being kidnapped, and it is not good. It's a bad image for Africa, bad image for Ghana as well. Okay, so to help us do this discussion this morning, I mean, there's no other person that we've called this morning in the person of Ilbad Ibrahim. He's a security expert. I'd like to invite him to the studio. Ibad. Okay.
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Oh, I'm good. And you too?
I'm superb.
All right. And happy New Year. I'm not seeing you this year.
Many happy returns. Good to see you.
Okay. And he's going to help us focus on this topic, the unresolved kidnapping in Ghana. Let's focus and put our attention in Ghana to start with. All right. Now, Ibrahim. I know we all know the word kidnapping, but how would you define kidnapping, and are there various forms of it?
When you are not law enforcement and you hold a person against their will, either you want to pick up a fight with somebody or give them their pound of flesh, or you want to hold the person for ransom. And I must say, cases of kidnapping and abduction are not alien to the Ghanaian community, especially the intelligence community. And so for people who are into journalism, they are a bit, surprised by the fact that something like this could take place under our own noses. But these cases are not new in Ghana at all. And we've always talked about the need for proper assimilation, orientation, and reintegration for foreigners that come into the country. I'm sorry to say most of these cases are inspired by people coming from Nigeria. So it's not a new phenomenon, except to those who don't have an aperture of opportunity to sneak into what happens within the Ghanaian intelligence community. I must say there are cases where even non-Ghanaians are involved, and those who carry out the hostage taking are themselves non-Ghanaians. So you would call them mercenaries, flown into the country to kidnap somebody.
Wow.
I'm doing a little consulting for someone whose nationality I can't mention, but he was in the mining sector, doing so well. He decided to start a refinery, but then people came from another country and then kidnapped him for months on end, forcing him in the process. In the case of these girls, there hasn't been any coercion to let go of property. But while you've been kidnapped, you are forced to sign paperwork so that they take away your cars, your businesses, and a host of other things you have. So it's a clean job. Meant to give money to the bad guys. So it's quite unfortunate that some of these issues are becoming quite rampant in Ghana. But I must say, from where I sit, cases of kidnapping and abductions are not new to Ghana.
Now, Ibrahim, why is it that when we hear cases like this, the police get hold of it, intelligence gets hold of it, but we seem not to get to the bottom of it? Or is it that media doesn't report to the latter, that this has happened eventually? Because it happens, we hear of it, and then it just fizzles. Why that missing link?
Kudos to GBC. GBC is not part of the bandwagon of sensational journalism outfits. For most people, it's about their haste to be the first to break the story, but they don't follow through with the story. I'll give you a case in point. When Opune was going to court, there was so much hue and cry. Can you imagine he's been going to court and nobody seems interested? Then someone sits somewhere and says, no, our criminal justice system is going too slowly. So I think a little bit of diligence on the part of the media would go a long way to help some of these unresolved cases, cases of murder, cases of kidnapping, cases of abduction. And the moment there is a let-up in the pressure and seeking answers, accountability from the media, then people who have been given the mandate to do that also go to sleep. But I must say, on the surface, it may look that we are not able to get to the bottom of some of these issues, largely because the media is not interested in following up on some of these stories.
But do we have our security agencies getting to the bottom?
I do retraining in addition to other people for our security agencies. I'm quite marveled at the level of patriotism and selflessness of young men and women in uniform that brave very hostile conditions to keep you and me safe. And therefore, I'm not too comfortable with the blame game. We say the police are not doing their job, we blame everybody. And they work 24/7 to keep us safe. And we need to give them a thumbs up when they do well. Not even in the US would you have 100% security. If you did, 9/11 wouldn't have happened. So a few breaches here and there. We don't tell the positive stories about police gallant, expeditions to keep life and property safe in the Republic of Ghana. So I would urge all of us to highlight some of the positive things that are happening within the Ghana Police Service rather than accentuating only the negative ones, giving a very bad public image for the Ghana Police Service.
Now, these kidnappers, those who get themselves involved in these actions and things they do in kidnapping, how do they get to follow their suspects, their victims? Do they target the well-to-do in society? Do they target people who they think they could get ABC from? What I don't want to use what inspires them, because when you say when I use that, it looks like you're empowering them. What makes them target particular people?
When kidnappers or abductors target poor people, then they may want to use them for rituals. I have a strong feeling, I don't know the economic background of the parents of the girls that have been kidnapped in Tadi, because I learned ransom money was paid, but still they were not released. If these kidnappers are petty Nigerian kidnappers, then maybe they want you to part ways with a few thousands of Ghana cedis. This may not be a high-stakes kidnapping. Others too may want the girls because a ritualist says we want the spec of girls to be used for rituals. But for those who are rivals in business, big business I mean, other people can be contracted to kidnap you just because they want you to miss an opportunity at a bidding fair, for example. There is a very important business meeting, summit or conference you need to attend. But by and large, people kidnap for ransom. But because there is mistrust and there is a breakdown in negotiations, and I then say that we need to also improve the capacity of our police officers when it comes to negotiating. There are times you corner kidnappers somewhere. How do you start communications with them? How do you negotiate with them so we don't suffer any casualties? If you use brute force, the hostages are going to also suffer some injury. So I think this spawns a new national debate on how to, whenever you have a squadron of police officers moving, one of them could be a negotiator with that background. So when we are faced with such cases, the person will be able to, if not beguile, convince and cajole the hostage takers not to harm the hostages.
But talk about negotiations. Do we have professional negotiators in Ghana?
We do.
They are there?
Yes, we do. We are doing marvelously as a country, and our international partners like the US, the UK, and others every now and then provide opportunities for police officers to go and seek better understanding of some of these issues and do capacity building. So I'm here to tell the good story of the Ghana Police Service and say that when one or two of these, bad stories sneak out, and these do not necessarily portend doomsday for Ghana. I hear people say Ghana is in a state of instability, in a state of insecurity. People said, okay, only in January we have had such many cases, but maybe February will be better than January.
Okay.
Security is not static. It is dynamic. So maybe at New Year's Eve, security apparatchiks had a certain strategy. We are faced with these. They will go back to the drawing board and re-strategize.
Okay.
So I want to assure Ghanaians that there is no need for fear and panic. Our February is going to be better than our January in terms of national security.
Now, Iba, one would say that these kidnappers normally outsmart our agencies. Are they smarter than our agencies?
Yeah.
And then how you work with security and you have a lot of dealings with them and all that. How well do we also educate our citizenry about issues like this, about kidnapping, how careful we should be? We don't hear any education. There's nothing being said.
You've been with GBC and you've been doing this show for so long.
Yeah.
If I put you to the litmus test, I can tell you drive using the same route when you come here at dawn.
Yeah.
So maybe someone just doesn't like you.
Yeah.
They may want to ambush you and kidnap you. So the production team will be here and the presenter is not here. So we need to do more outreach to educate people about personal security. And the lady who was killed, the Gapoha lady who was killed in a very gruesome and dastardly way. I learned she was raped before she was killed. It doesn't help when empowered women who are divorcees, for example, I don't know if she was, when they live in isolated houses on the outskirts of town with a 10-year-old son or a 7-year-old daughter. Let's go back to our former way of living in a communal way. Get cousins, nieces, nephews, uncles. Let's live in that extended family way because it will give you an extra layer of security and deter bad guys from ever encroaching your premises. So therefore, just basic things we all need to do. Look over your shoulder when you walk. And then when you drive in the dead of the night and you are trailed by the same car with the same number plate or license plate, it is not healthy for you to drive home. Drive to the nearest police checkpoint or police station to pass the night. So as we create an avenue for more outreach for citizens to understand what their security is and how they should complement the efforts of the Ghana Police Service or law enforcement, then we'll be able to make some headway. But I must say we are giving a very bad name to the Ghana Police Service. Maybe you met only a few elements of the MTTD. You don't know they are highly respected, units like the CTU, the counterterrorism unit, like the FPU, Formed Police Unit, Police Intel, and even with MTTD is a very respectable, department of the Ghana Police Service. So out of 100, maybe your encounter has been with 1 or 2, and then you use the same, brush to paint all of them. They are very good guys and young ladies out there serving Ghana.
Now, Ibrahim, can we have a clear-cut definition between what kidnapping is and abduction? Is there a difference, or is all are dovetailed in the same thing?
Unless maybe you want us to delve into academia, but I see those words as synonymous. But in the case of abductions, for example, you would use that in Iraq, in Afghanistan. You would want to pick up a journalist and behead him, for example. So I'm tempted to think that kidnapping may come with a certain condition that do ABC to ensure the release or guarantee the release of the hostage. But abductions may be to just finish the person.
Now, still zooming on the kidnapping bit, there are issues when it comes to kidnapping where those who have kidnapped would ask for certain items, certain things. Now, they would tell a family or those involved not to tell the police. What would you say in situations like that? What's the best thing how can someone handle a situation like that where you've been warned that don't let the police in on this? What should families do? What should people involved in such situation do? It's a very dicey bit.
I must say up front that kidnappers are exploitative, they are manipulative. And the expert whose case I'm on currently, if I give you a graphic description of how he was treated by the kidnappers, he lost a lot of pounds.
Oh.
Because they would beat you daily. Make sure they can, eke out whatever information you can give. Because if there is a 4-star or 5-star hotel where he had a jewelry shop, they forced him to sign papers, and then they sublet the place to a third client. And this is a very popular hotel. So that's why I'm saying such issues are not new, unless maybe you don't belong to this community, and that can read between the lines and know what is happening. So they would want to do bodily harm to the kidnappee, and then they would also want to intimidate your family. So it's a form of intimidation. So they say, okay, bring 10,000 Ghana cedis, but don't tell the police. They think, okay, this is quite lucrative. So they are emotionally blackmailing you, emotional blackmail. So they want to get as much money as they can from you. So we would always recommend that when you suffer such a case as a family, gather around and then take a decision that is decisive. Go to the police. How do they even know that you reported or not? Yes. And then when we invest more in technology, then a simple phone call ringing from the kidnappers would give us a fair idea of their GPS location. So when they talk to you, hand over the phone to the police, Ghana Police Service, and they have forensics, ballistics people that can do the needed, background research to break in where necessary and negotiate with the kidnappers if they so wish.
Maybe, you've been security for a very long time. You've done a lot of travels and all that. Within our West African bloc, let alone African bloc, and then the outside world, out of Africa, would you say that kidnapping methods, kidnapping styles are kind of the same, or it varies from various places?
Cases in East Africa are different because when you look at Somalia, it is strategically positioned along the Horn of Africa, and most of the world's oil coming from the Middle East uses that stretch of maritime path. So theirs is piracy. What they do is they intercept ships and then hold the crew hostage. At first, they used to make attempts. A clear case of kidnapping, hostage taking. They would want to dock the vessel somewhere and offload the cargo. So over time, it became quite dangerous. So they would rather hold the crew and ask Switzerland to pay maybe $1 million or $2 million. So whatever country is flagged, has its flag on the ship. It could be a merchant vessel. They would want to negotiate with Talo. We do something on maritime security, and recently we had an engagement with Talo, and the gentleman had ever been a captain, telling all the personal experiences on the high seas. So they would want to kidnap you for ransom. But in West Africa, these are people in the Niger Delta region. They introduced this whole concept, thinking that the national cake in Nigeria wasn't shared equitably because the oil was coming from their area, while Abuja and other areas were enjoying. So they would kidnap, expatriates working on the oil rigs and then ask for a ransom. But the vestiges we are beginning to see in Ghana are a bit petty. Apart from the purely mercenary ones I've mentioned, they are a bit petty. Young people influenced by people coming from turbulent parts of the sub-region, and they are adopting some of these methods, thinking that if you can do cybercrime, if you can't do armed robbery, you can stop a child on their way to school and ask their parents to pay something. But I would want to urge parents and also give them a word of consolation, and that Ghana's security agencies are up to the task. And this must have taken all of us by surprise, but with time, the evil ways of the bad guys will be stifled.
Now, would you say that on a scale of the 100%, the kidnapping situation in Ghana, what percentage would you give it? Is it gaining roots, and